What is behind the success of top performing real estate agents and mortgage lenders? What tactics, strategies, and lessons learned have they used to break through and achieve elite status? Top performing real estate and mortgage specialists from across the country answer these questions and so much more right here on Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. So grab your pen and paper because we are about to get real. Now, here is your host of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes National Director, Abby Waltz.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Talk with Homes for Heroes. We've got a great show for you. I'm so excited about this. I am joined by the number 2 mortgage specialist in the country, Teresa Clark, out of Colorado Springs, Colorado. Welcome, Teresa. Thanks for joining me.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm super excited for the show because I have gotten to know you personally over the years and have seen your business blossom and grow since you've been with us for, believe it or not, 7.5 years here at Homes for Heroes. Can you believe that?
I know, isn't that crazy?
It is absolutely mind-boggling. I was actually looking in your account and I I had to go back into the archives for your agreement that we filed away in paperwork back in early 2013.
I know, it's crazy.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely crazy. But yeah, I was looking at your numbers too before we hopped on the show. You have actually given back $588,000 to your local heroes, over
Really?
$500,000. Yeah, how mind-boggled are you
That's
with that?
amazing. I had no idea it was that much.
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh.
And I know I've got something special in the works for you, so I can't quite let the audience know another accolade that you'll be adding to your belt. But number 2 in the nation is pretty amazing. And last year, I believe you served like 175, 176 or so heroes within 2020. Does that sound right?
Something it was in the 170s, maybe something around there, 171, 172, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Serve that many heroes through our program alone. I know that's not the only business that you do, but holy smokes, that's a lot of transactions.
Yeah, we had our hair on fire last year, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Well, for those other tuning in that don't know you like I do, why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself, your background, and how you got into this business?
Well, I've actually been with the bank that I work for almost 21 years. I realized that this morning. On the 18th of this month is my 21-year anniversary.
Oh my
So,
gosh, you can legally drink
I work
now.
for a great bank. And it's, we're licensed nationally as mortgage originators. So, um, it's I just have nothing but positive things to say about it. And I started back in 2000 as a processor. And I actually have been in the business since 98. And I was, going to college. I was a science, biology major, chemistry minor. And, I was waiting tables at, sports bar. And there was a regular and, he's like, the company I work for, we need a junior processor. And I told him, well, I know how to type. I have no idea what that means. And so I went in and I talked to the branch manager and I didn't even know it was like a formal interview. And he had asked me if I had a resume. And of course I didn't. And he gave me an opportunity. And so I started working for this little broker shop that they were based out of California and eventually started at my bank in May of 2000 and just grew into originating. And after processing for, gosh, I don't even know how many years, I was trying to think whenever originators had to have an NMLS license is when I kind of started making that hump over to originating.
Okay.
And I became an assistant, slash processor slash originator. So I kind of did a little bit of everything. And then just kind of, I took that leap of faith and started doing it on my own.
Wow.
Here I
That's crazy. That's a long
am.
time
Yeah.
in this business for sure, but what a
Mhm.
great story of kind of stumbling into finding your calling.
Yeah, I'm not using my college degree, but I have it. I have paper that says I have it.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
typical for so many of us. Although
Yeah.
you can kind of use little aspects no matter what your degree ends up being in college and in your fields for
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm. And
So
so it's just and then I have an assistant, and she's my right arm, my left arm, and sometimes in between, and she's absolutely amazing. So we make a great team.
very cool. I love
Yeah.
that. Let's talk about kind of once you got into the origination business, how were there some obviously there's some lessons that you've learned along this journey and this road that you've taken. Um, what were some lessons that you've picked up and kind of integrated into your business to help it become what it is today?
Um, really, I started learning and picking up when I was an assistant for so many years to some other top producers of the company. And, I learned a lot from them and how they originated and, how they took the application and, just their service levels and what they did. And I'm still old school when it comes to, when I pre-qualify somebody, I'm writing information on a piece of paper and then I scan it into the file and then shred the piece of paper. Because that's the way that, I learned. And, um, if everything from, if I have to calculate income, I'm doing it on a piece of paper. And I think that was very crucial and making the jump that the timing that I did in my career, and that background, I don't think that I would have been as successful as I am, without those ladies that were helping me.
Mm,
Because I mean there's a lot that goes into originating, and and then of course with all of the guideline changes that have happened since really 2010, with, the RESPA changes and the GFE changes and stuff that have changed over the years. And then, of course, we've gone into TRID, I don't know, was that 2013, 2014. And,
mm,
so many things have started to change over the years. And so it was important to have that assistant background and kind of almost felt like I was ahead of the game when I jumped into the originating piece.
mm. I love that. Yeah,
Yeah.
learning from others that are top producers and excelling in the field. I think if you can get a window into that, which a lot of times it's either being an assistant or it's just asking the mere questions
Mhm.
of them,
Yeah.
right? Because everybody's pretty willing to share.
Yeah.
It's enlightening and
Mhm.
eye-opening, and I'm sure you took a lot of that and adapted it to work for you
Yeah,
now.
it's more than just, training and reading a book and, let's just say, taking a test for, current originators coming in and having to, do the testing for the NMLS. It's more to that. And so
Mhm.
I was very fortunate.
Good. Good, good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same in the real estate industry, which is my background, so I can totally relate to taking a real estate test and getting your license as an agent or as a broker, whatever you call it in your neck of the woods. It doesn't actually teach you how to do the business whatsoever.
Yeah. Mhm. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
smart. Smart, smart. When did you get to the point you said you have an assistant now. When did you get to the point where you ended up adding an assistant? Was that right away? Did that take a few years in the making, or what was that process for you?
It took a few years in the making. And she was been my processor, I wanna say for like 5 years, I think, but she wasn't exclusively my processor, so I shared her. So we've had that working relationship for quite some time, and I was always afraid to make that jump because, I'm, partly responsible for her income, and I didn't want to make that jump and then I couldn't sustain the business and, help support her and then also continue to help support my family because I'm the breadwinner. And I just I prayed about it a lot and, I worked out stuff with the company and the management and her salary, and I talked to her about it, and we took the leap of faith, and the beginning of last year is when we decided that we were just gonna, become an exclusive team. And so she's a hybrid, so she's my assistant and she still processes my loan, but we are an exclusive team. And it was also hard for me in the sense because I'm very type A. I like to be in control. So I had to give up some of my duties, and that was hard. That was really hard at first, but now I have no problem with it
Yeah.
because she's a huge help, and she has great customer service. I trust her to call my clients, talk to the agents, and she's really, really blossomed herself in that assistant field as well.
Good. Good,
Yeah,
good. Yeah,
yeah,
they definitely help you get to that next level for sure, and I love that you had a working relationship with her prior to bringing her on as an assistant, 'cause it's so helpful when you
yeah,
try to marry those 2 roles
yeah,
together, for sure. So, I
yeah.
know there's a ton of people out there that are thinking about getting an assistant, right? How did you know you were ready for one, and what do you feel kind of pushed you over the edge? I know you talked about the fear of being responsible for somebody else's income, which is usually something that holds many of us back from hiring an assistant, taking on that much responsibility. But when did you know that you were ready for one, and what pushed you over the edge?
Our My family, our kids, Caleb, he's going to be 6, and Amelia's going to be 5 in the fall, and it just I told myself I can't miss out on them. And in 2019, it was just things were really, really picking up, and I was working an insane amount of hours, and that had been going on for quite some time. And it was the point where it's like, I can't continue to grow my business and without help, or I'm just going to work myself into the ground. And so
Yeah,
that's where it was like, I need to just I need to do it and have faith.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's so challenging for professionals to make that leap, right? But you do
Mhm.
get to the point where you're like, I cannot do this on my own. I absolutely need
Yeah.
help, which I think for some people is very challenging to admit that
Mhm.
you need to reach out and ask for help. But it's so incredibly rewarding professionally and personally once you do just
Yeah.
commit to it. So you shared your type A. You like to control a lot of things. I think a lot of us do in this business for sure.
Yeah. You kinda
But
have to be.
yeah. Let's talk about that release of responsibilities, and what was the first thing that you had your assistant kind of step on board and tackle for you that was taking your time away from where you wanted to be focused?
A lot of the mundane stuff, like, tracking down conditions, you know, I always liked to have, you know, just kind of keep that line of communication open, with the agents and the clients from start to finish, which I still do. But it what I like to do is, turn the file over to her and have her do it from start to finish. And then I just, at times during the transaction, just do those little touch bases with the agent and the clients and let them know. But she's the one that's really working on getting the rest of the stuff that's needed. And so that was kind of the first step that I took is, to take that off of my plate to be able to allow me to free up time for the rest of everything else that I do.
Yeah, that definitely helps for sure. Tell me a little bit about your customer service experience. I know you mentioned you picked some tidbits up from mentors or from being an assistant for top producers. What did you start implementing in your own business that you feel makes you a little bit special and help you deliver that extraordinary customer service to your clients?
Well, for one, I try and stay as accessible as possible for both agents and clients. But I'm very transparent. I'm a working mom with 2 young kids, and my husband's a firefighter, so um, I have to let them know when we talk. I can't promise that there's not going to be screaming children in the background, and I work from home, and and especially this last year, then we've had the e-learning. Um, but I treat everybody the same. It doesn't matter if you have $100,000 loan amount or a $500,000 loan amount. I like to say all French fries taste the same. And there are loan officers or originators or whatever they're called that do pass on the lower loan amount people or the people that are credit challenged, because you hear those horror stories. And I'm not necessarily pinpointing anybody that's like a specific like Homes for Heroes affiliate. I'm just talking just in general lending, nationwide. You hear those horror stories of people, and I just think it's really important to make the person feel comfortable, because we're up in their business. We have to know a lot about them, especially with the way that lending has changed over the last few years. There's a lot that we have to know and verify. And, I just really think that it's important for them to know that, I'm not going to treat them differently if, they have lower credit scores. And I'm not going to judge them, because, if they were younger, they didn't care about their credit. You know, it's a big, big financial decision, and it's a big step for people. So they needed to be treated equally, no matter what their background, no matter what their loan amount is.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that approach. And that just comes so beautifully and naturally through you. I'm sure that just parlays into your conversations that you have with your clients right up front. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's a lot of the reasons why, I always use my cell phone for everything. I have my office number forwarded to my cell. And, I tell people, even text message me. And, I have FaceTimed in my pajamas before because of time change. It's the way that our industry has progressed, especially over the last 12 months. Everything is going so, everything is electronic, that you know people work from home. We're human. We work in our slippers. We work in our sweats. But it doesn't mean that you're going to be treated any different just because we're not in an actual office.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good. Do you feel like COVID has kind of helped you own that this past year and just be real with your clients? I'm sure you were like that before, even when it wasn't in the office setting, but do you feel as though COVID has kind of shifted that a little bit where it's now a bit more okay to say, yeah, there's kids in the background, like we're all
Yeah,
at home.
yeah, it has, because in the past it was a rarity to have my kids at home, but yes, definitely in
Yeah.
the past 12 months, it's I've had my 5-year-old come to me when I'm on the phone, and tell me that he stunk up the bathroom when I'm on the phone with a client. But it is what it is. Um, and they can't control it,
Yeah.
but definitely. And, truthfully, most people understand, especially if they have children themselves, and they're at home and they're trying to, do e-learning and, work at the same time and, take care of, their mortgage application. And, a real estate agent is, trying to make an offer, and, they have a child in their ear, that's talking as well. We've had to adapt
Hmm.
for sure.
Definitely. It's
Yeah.
I've seen it people, despite the fact that we have all been at our wits' end for over a year at this point, right? It's just included a little bit more grace and perspective and the
Yeah.
whole experience with everybody.
Yeah.
So,
And then, from I think there's, a lot of lenders that can attest to this too, is, you hear the stories of people that, have lost their jobs, or, you struggle with the income. So, you know, and they've maybe were in a position to buy a house before COVID hit. And then now they're, in a position where now they're having to struggle because, they lost the income. And then, the guidelines that have been put into place, because of COVID, for lenders to have to verify the income. It's sometimes it's hard to hear those stories.
mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely.
Mhm.
Well, you have come a long ways. Over 170 hero closings within one given year is a lot. How did you get here? Did it just happen, or have there been, besides the assistant, some game changers that you've implemented along the way to help you get here?
Kind of a little bit of everything, because I've been doing it for so long. So a lot of my business is referral based. at this point, and I do get a lot of leads, and it's some I'll go through streaks where I'm really successful at turning them, and then I'll go through streaks where they're non-responsive. Um, in the beginning, when I first started, I was the only lender in Colorado Springs for, I think, several years that was doing this. And, I tried the farming, and, I would just talk to any hero that I would see. There was this one time I went to Chipotle or something, and I had these little cards made up, and there were some officers eating dinner or lunch or whatever time of day it was, and I went up to him and I said, "Hey, I just want to interrupt you for just a quick second. I just want to hand these to you." And that's what I did, because I was one person. And I've tried different avenues of marketing, and it was trial and error. And then eventually, as Homes for Heroes started to grow in Colorado Springs, and then my relationship with referrals started to grow in other states, I started to also create relationships with agents in other states. And so it just has just continued to blossom and blossom and blossom. And, and I really do a lot of social media marketing. And that's where I think my niche is the social media piece. And um, the markets that I'm in and the agents that I work with, and just go from there.
Mhm. Yeah, so you're not only building your referral base with people in your local market, you're expanding that beyond in other
Mhm.
states too, right?
Yep. Maine and Mississippi, Washington, Georgia, Vegas. I've got agents in several states that I work with.
Wow. How do you keep those relationships thriving with those agents?
It's you kind of almost like create like this personal relationship outside of like the professional relationship. It's not just, when we talk on the phone, it's not just all business. We chat a little bit, and it kind of just molds into itself and forms into itself. Even though, they're in a different state, there's that mutual trust there, and of course more of a trust on their part, that they had to trust me as an outside lender to be able to service the clients. And once that happened, then it just kept going. And in fact, I have an agent in one of the states that really wants to do some big marketing, and I'm all for it. And that's so it's kind of hard to explain. It just kind of happens
Mhm.
just through how we communicate.
Yeah. Well, communication is key, especially
Mhm.
for establishing relationships and building trust, but I'm sure it's partially do a really good job for their clients too, which will help keep them coming back for more.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. Okay. Well, I know we have a ton of listeners on here who are just poking me to ask the social media question. And what's your secret sauce on there? You said that you're kind of the social guru with what you're doing, and that's been a big referral maker and a big lead generation source for you. What are you doing? You got to share your secrets behind this for me.
I'm boosting. I mean, it's really as simple as that.
Okay.
It's not anything fancy, guys. And I'm not that great at it, truthfully. I have a marketing guy that, I hired. I created a Facebook page. I just it was one of those things where I'm like, I cannot keep up on this. I just need him, post. And sometimes he just posts like Saturday, I think he calls it like Saturday sillies or something. And he'll do something with like, I don't know, why the cat crossed the road or something, just to keep that um what do they call it?
Engagement.
The feed going,
Yeah.
yeah, just so it stays in like the news feed. But if there's any kind of industry changes, I'm feeding him that information like, hey, rates have dropped again. Let's put something out there. So anything that deals with, the industry changes, or, the beginning of the year when the conforming loan limits change, I'm always putting that out there. And then I boost it. in my markets. And, usually I run it for, probably about 15 days. And, and of course, it unfortunately it depends on what you're boosting. Facebook is going to regulate that,
Mhm.
what kind of crowds you can go to. And that's what I do is and sometimes I'll run like 2, 3 different at the same time.
Mhm.
So it's just really, really out there. So it's that's where I spend the majority of my marketing budget
Mm.
is on the boosting.
Okay. Do you have any that stand out in your mind? I'm putting you on the spot here, and I apologize for that, but any that have really helped in engagement or that you saw like a large uptick and people reaching out?
Um, there was a video that he made last year, and I had a feeling you were gonna ask me this, and it had a ton of, click links, and of course, I can't remember,
Okay.
but it was along the lines of, like, the Thank the Heroes,
Mm,
with everything that was going on with COVID. So it didn't necessarily have anything to do with the industry itself. It had everything to do with the heroes. We had major fires that were going on in Colorado last year. So we actually did it as a video. He put together that video. And there have been some that we've had a lot more click links on with regards to rate decreases,
mm,
especially at the beginning of this year. I mean, when the rates went down this year even further than what they were last year, which nobody expected, it was just like, let's get this out there, because people that refinanced last year, that refinanced in 2019, were refinancing again in 2021.
wow.
And so that was a big driver of it. It's just when something changes and it's a good change and it is a potentially short lived change, jump on it and get it out there.
Hmm.
And that's what I do.
Ah, love that. Is he somebody that works within your company, or did you hire kind of like a virtual assistant type thing to run your
No,
advertising?
no, I met him through an agent that I work with.
Okay.
Yep, so he's just an outside guy that does social media.
Love it.
Yeah.
Way to outsource it, right?
Mhm. Yeah,
Just like having an assistant. Helping hands
yeah.
always help.
That he's great, and I'm like, "Hey, how much you gonna charge me? What are you gonna do?"
Mhm.
And yeah, he's great.
Good.
Mhm.
Good. I'm glad you found that that's worked for you. Any other big return on investments that you've seen specifically, not just in lending, but with your Homes for Heroes affiliation that have brought in hero clients to you?
Probably the biggest one is gonna be the canine event that you
Mm,
know about, which unfortunately has, been put on hold because of canine, or because of COVID, but in 2019 and 2018, myself and several affiliates in the Colorado Springs area put on a huge fundraising event for all of the police canines in our area, from the county, the city, to raise money for the actual canines for unforeseen expenses to help care for them. And I have several contacts within the canine community, just through friends. And then, that has actually blossomed into, like, this person knows this person and this person knows this person. And so in 2018, when I got connected with these agents that at the time I wasn't even partnered with, um, I was like, hey guys, I would love to be a part of this. They invited me in. And I was like, I know this person, I'll call this person, I know this person, we'll go from here. And it's got, like, the tree has just gone like this, as far as, who knows who and who's calling who. And so that probably is the biggest source, other than the social media,
mm.
of people that have reached out.
I I love the nuanced answer to that just because first of all, the event is absolutely spectacular. I've been out there. Luckily, I was invited a few years ago to go and I was honored to
The dog
see
suit.
how big it was that you guys had
Mhm,
done such a huge event and really championed not just for canines, but the community around
mhm,
this small group of some of our heroes that we have. But to see that your biggest, besides social media, your biggest return on investment is something that you teamed up with other industry professionals to do, and B, targeted such a small subset of our heroes. I think that's outstanding and really shows the power of specializing and truly getting ingrained and integrated into a target audience of clients.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
That's just it's mind-boggling, and it's so atypical of what we get taught in this industry, right?
Yeah.
Just do it on your own. Don't look for help from other people. Certainly don't compete with your competitors, right?
Yeah.
And cast a wide net, and all of those, you just
Yeah,
move
it
on.
was strictly Homes for Heroes affiliates coming together.
Yeah.
We left, our, companies out of it, our real estate offices out of it. We were focused as Homes for Heroes, giving back to our community to help take care of our canines. Yep.
I have chills.
And then afterwards, then of course we were, "Hey, I'm Teresa, I work for this company. Look what I did,"
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
yeah. Mhm. No.
You guys should be proud of those results and certainly shout those from the rooftops. You're raising tens of thousands of dollars for that goes right into your local community and does some tremendous good.
Mhm. Absolutely.
So,
Yeah.
love that. Any other career changers that kind of helped you get to that next level?
Not that I can think of. I
So
just been just kinda doing my thing.
but you do it so well, so you just keep doing that thing.
Just keep trucking along. I'm really blessed. I mean, I am. It's just, I started down this path. I'm gonna reveal my age. I was in my early 20s, and, now I'm a lifer, and, I'm very lucky to start in this industry, because now if somebody wants to become a lender, they have to go through so much training, and most companies are going to be, requiring that they have, so many years in the industry, or so much volume, unless they're starting at, a call center lender, or something that's very, very entry level. So I definitely got lucky, and I have a very supportive husband who, you know, doesn't say anything when the phone rings during dinner, or I have to, work late at night when the kids are trying to take baths. But I I can't say anything more than just I'm very blessed, and I'll just keep doing my thing.
Yeah. Well, it
Yeah.
seems like you have a wonderful support network, not just with your family, but with the professionals you surround yourself with too. And
Yeah.
who knew that you landed at the right spot on your first try in the banking industry, right?
Yeah. Who knew? Yeah, and I remember when I was hired at the bank, when I did my interview at this bank, my manager at the time, she said, "Do what kind of loans have you done?" And I said, "Well, I've done conventional." And she said, Can you do FHA?" And I said, "No, but I can learn." And she said, "Have you done VA?" And I said, "No, but I can learn." And I think I like drug tested the next day and started like 2 days later. But I was honest. I'm like, "I can learn." And I did. And there was 1 month that I think and this was when I was a processor, I did like 80 something VA streamlined refinances in 1 month. And this was, I don't know, back in like 2005, 2006, when there one of the like early 2000 refi booms that was going on. I was just knocking them out of the park. And so I was known as like the R.E.A.L girl in the office. So those are easy.
Yeah,
Those are easy.
good. Well, that's a great philosophy, the learning approach. Yes,
Yeah.
I may not know now, but I'll certainly figure it out, right?
Mhm.
And being
Yeah.
super honest about it. Like if you don't know, you don't know. but your
Yeah.
clients can know that you're gonna help them get to the answer that they need to get to for sure.
Well, and that's how it is now with my job. If there's something that comes up, and I'm not quite sure on the answer, it's like, let me get back to you on that. Let me double check. And it's just because, things are kind of ever changing a little bit too, where it might have been this way, 12 months ago, it might not be that way now. So let me check. So it's definitely creative financing
Mhm.
in the lending world, or can be creative financing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. Did you want to share anything else before I hop into my 3 special rapid fire questions I've got for you?
No, I don't think so.
She has a look of concern, you guys. If you're listening to the podcast, she is all worried some on her face for
I'm
these
like, you didn't tell me about rapid fire questions. Feel the pressure.
they're painless, hopefully.
Okay.
I promise. It's all good.
Okay.
Um, First things first, if you could go back to Teresa back in 1998, I think you mentioned it when you first got into this industry, what piece of advice would you give yourself?
Just breathe. Just breathe.
I love
Yeah.
that. Care to
Yeah.
elaborate?
Um, it's this industry is stressful. I mean, there's no doubt about it, whether you're on the lending side or the real estate side. And I still tell myself that it's just breathe. Yep. That's all you can do. Just breathe.
Look at her nailing these answers to questions she was concerned about 60 seconds ago.
That one, okay, so okay, 2 more to go.
Yep. Next, I can't remember. I know I've sent you books in the past, but are you actually a book reader?
Very much so when I have time,
Yeah.
but very much so, yes.
Yes. 2 kids, a firefighter husband, a very busy business. Time gets away
Mhm.
from us, but what's one of your favorite books that you've ever read?
I don't necessarily have a favorite book, but my favorite author is Patricia Cornwell.
Okay.
Mhm. Yep.
Very nice.
So, I love the Kay Scarpetta series.
Oh, those are good for sure.
Yeah.
Very cool. And then last but not least, hopefully this is the easiest one of all 3. What is your favorite room in your house now? Now that we've all been stuck home for a year and a half.
Oh, it's my bed, because when I can sleep, I'm, like, happy when I can sleep.
Oh,
When my head hits that pillow, I'm like, "Oh my goodness, it's been a day."
love that. An honest answer from a very thriving working mom of 2.
Yeah, exactly.
Awesome. Well, Teresa, it's been great having you on today. Thank you so much for taking
Well,
time out of your busy schedule to just share your experiences and your success strategies with us all. I really appreciate you.
oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. And for everybody that tuned in, thank you so much for your time too. We will see you next week on another episode.